European Union is recovering from recession and taking all necessary steps to increase economic governance. This was the upbeat assessment from European Council President Herman Van Rompuy, who spoke to EPP TV here in Strasbourg about the recent summit of EU heads of state and government.
In an exclusive interview with EPP TV, Mr. Van Rompuy expressed optimism for the future of the European Union despite the debt crisis and cuts in public expenditure affecting many EU member states. He told us the new European stability mechanism would prevent a repeat of the debt crisis, and he played down suggestions that the European Council had not taken a sufficiently ambitious approach.
We have to find an agreement between 27 countries, and we did. I consider this as a success in itself. The Parliament agreed with a huge majority on a slight modification of the treaty to make that stability mechanism possible. And so I think there is a broad consensus in Europe in the middle of a crisis. I consider this, I repeat it, as a success in itself.
Mr. Van Rompuy briefed MEPs on the outcome of the summit in a debate here in Strasbourg. EPP Group Chairman Joseph Daul, speaking in the debate, backed moves towards economic governance at EU level.
In effect, the currency we share requires us to be more coherent in our economic and social choices. The time when countries could adopt particular tax rates or social conditions without consulting others is long gone. The reason for this is simple. Every country should be able to benefit from the solidarity of its partners in the Eurozone.
President Van Rompuy also spoke to us about Libya. He said that the EU's prompt action in calling for and supporting a no-fly zone against Colonel Gaddafi's forces had proved decisive.
My view is that we saved 10,000s of lives in Libya. It is as simple as that. You can discuss always on the decision-making process. And there were some hesitations. Yeah, that is also normal. We are discussing war and peace. But the result, the outcome, was in the interest, and more than the interest, of the Libyan people. Without the European Council of the 11th of March, without the leadership of the European Union and some European countries, we have to face a massacre in Libya. And I think we rendered a very big service to the Libyan people. That's the least what I can say.
The next European Council will take place in late June.
Following the devastating effects of an earthquake and tsunami on Japan's Fukushima nuclear power plant, MEPs debated a resolution setting out how nuclear safety should be improved. EPP MEPs were at pains to point out that a debate on Europe's energy mix is a separate discussion, but socialists forced a stand-off on the issue with an amendment calling on member states to develop strategies for phasing out nuclear energy.
The debate took place just 3 weeks before the 25th anniversary of Chernobyl disaster and concentrated on stress tests for Europe's nuclear power plants. Nuclear power makes up about 30% of Europe's energy mix, and 14 member states have plants. EPP Group Vice President Corien Wortmann-Kool told EU Energy Commissioner Günther Oettinger that common community safety criteria are imperative.
There lies an important task for you together with the Council, because we in Europe are dependent on each other when it comes to nuclear safety. We need a European stress test for all nuclear installations, and the criteria, as you said, must be harmonised.
Mrs. Wortmann-Kool also insisted any tests must be transparent and objective to ensure the very highest standards are adopted. The reports must be publicly available, she said.
Should a nuclear plant fail the stress test, you must make sure with the Council that there is a commitment by the Member States to take immediate action, including the temporary shutting down or indeed definitive decommissioning of a nuclear power plant.
Many MEPs wanted to turn the debate into a yes or no vote on nuclear energy itself, but the choice of energy lies only with the member state and is not an area that EU can legislate in. Not only that, but nuclear energy currently makes up 2/3 of the EU's low-carbon energy sources.
We can't give up nuclear as a source of energy just like that, because it meets a large amount of our energy needs and contributes to a reduction of CO2 emissions.
But despite wanting to restrict the debate to that of safety, Mrs. Wortmann-Kool did say that we need to look to the future and to more energy efficiency. She called for increased investment and research in renewable energy sources. Like many other MEPs, she also urged negotiations with neighbouring countries who have or are planning to build nuclear power plants, as Europe cannot guarantee its safety on its own. The resolution was in the end rejected.
Parliament also adopted a new legal framework for European political parties. Instead of being considered international NGOs, they will now be recognised as political bodies, with transparent rules on funding.
It is important to underline that when we talk about political parties and financing, they are not asking for more money than they've received under the 2007 regulation, which, according to Transparency International, made a big improvement. What political parties want is a European status, similar to EU institutions and in line with EU law. They want this status to meet citizens' expectations. Finally, Mr. President, the establishment of a secure and transparent framework for the functioning and financing of political parties is a profoundly democratic development.
Uprisings across North Africa and the Middle East have forced Europe's politicians to rethink their policies on relations with neighbouring countries. Portuguese MEP Mario David stressed that democracy must be key to defining those relationships.
We have also to show our partners in the South that we are going to treat from now on differently those which are democracies than those which are not. We are not imposing anything. It must be a win-win situation. But what has to come extremely clear out of this new neighbourhood policy is that we are going to be much more open. We are going to contribute much more with the new democracies than with those that keep on different systems of governance.
That's all from Strasbourg for this month. We'll be back in May with more news from Parliament. To keep up to date in the meantime, visit our website eppgroup.eu. Thanks for watching.